Welcome back to the Grounded in Simplicity podcast. This is Bonnie from The Not So Modern Housewife, and I am joined by my friend Danielle from The Rustic Elk, and we are here to help moms find more joy in being less busy.
And today we are going to talk about 21 little known edible plants that you might already be growing in your garden. They might be weeds in your backyard, but just things that you probably didn't realize you could grow as a source of food. So the first one up is hibiscus. The Roselle hibiscus or Florida cranberry, some will also call it a cranberry hibiscus, but it is the one that is typically, the flowers are usually dried for hibiscus tea, which a lot of people will drink for blood pressure. Like if they have high blood pressure, it's supposed to help regulate blood pressure. The only thing is you should not drink hibiscus tea if you're pregnant.
It appears that they're all edible.
Now, just the flowers on all hibiscus or the flowers and the leaves on all hibiscus?
There are hundreds of varieties of hibiscus. It's hard to say if every variety is edible, but they have been traditionally used for food and medicine.
Okay.
So,
well, I can tell you that true Roselle and false Roselle are
do those grow everywhere?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I didn't really get into growing them until I moved to Florida. They're very common down here. But Roselle is not at all. I mean, both of them are like not very hardy as far as like being pure perennials everywhere. False Roselle is more frost tolerant. And so it will die back, but then it'll come back from the root. True Roselle is not at all frost tolerant. And I believe it is native to Jamaica. So it's only grown as an annual. It will completely die over the winter. And then we restart it from seed in the spring. So like I've got my seeds going right now.
I would imagine that it would grow like anywhere. If you're growing it as an annual there's really no reason it can be grown as an annual.
Right.
Anywhere.
Yeah. You just grow it in the summer as an annual and just full sun. You know, it likes full sun and heat. So it's a big reason why it's so popular here is because it can still be a food source for us in the summer when we have so many other things we can't grow in the summer. So
I'm letting you do nasturtium because
okay.
I thought that it was just flowers. So
okay.
You clearly know more about it.
I really love nasturtiums. One, because I think they're really pretty and they will fill up a bed. Like you only have to start a few seeds, but then they will either vine or bush and they're really good at filling a space. They're a little bit spicy or peppery, as some people will call it. So we don't eat a whole lot of them. They also make a nice trap crop for stink bugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, every time I've tried to grow nasturtium, it does not happen. Never,
really?
ever. I cannot get it to grow here. I don't know why. I can grow just about anything. I can't grow that.
I know they do not like our summers. They don't like the heat and the full sun. They'll do full sun. Our full sun in the summer is just really, really intense. They will do full sun in the winter. So I will usually start them in the fall and grow them through the winter. Although, you have to give them some frost protection. But maybe it's just too hot in the summer.
But then when would they grow here?
I know. That's spring and fall.
Well, it's snowing, so.
Well, right. Remind me again why you live in Indiana.
Because it's cheap.
Because it's cheap. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I don't know unless you tried like partial sun, but I know your garden area is pretty sunny. So
yeah, like I always try to grow them with my cucumbers because it's a good companion plant.
Oh yeah,
never happens. Never.
I'll
get like it'll start and then it just peters out before I even get flowers. So
that stinks. Yeah, mine does great, and when I grow it, and then I get volunteers the next year. It self seeds. So
I get lots of those, but not from nasturtiums.
Not from nasturtiums. From calendula.
Yeah, tons. Like every year, I already have some growing out there. I'm like, I started seeds. I don't know why.
Well, and that's the funny thing here. I have sweet potato volunteers. So,
wow.
I probably should have added that to the list, but that's all right. A lot of people don't realize sweet potato leaves are edible, but I joke that I've only intentionally planted sweet potatoes once. And so I was weeding over the weekend, and I actually I'm just pulling stuff, and all of a sudden a sweet potato pops out of the ground. Like, I mean, it was not very big. It was really, really thin, and I should probably just use it to try to get.
But people have such trouble growing them because the slips and all that stuff. So okay, back to nasturtium.
Back to nasturtiums. So the flowers are good like on a salad, especially if you want something to kind of like spice up your salad, add more flavor. Also, and I have not tried this yet. I keep meaning to, but someone else really recommended using the leaves for a pesto. Again, it's a little bit spicy. I don't think it's as spicy as the flowers, but it's just got like a nice bite to it. So I really want to try it. I always have plenty of flowers. Plenty of leaves. I just have to do it.
I thought that it was just the flowers that were edible. So
nope, whole thing. Oh. All right.
Next is borage. I can actually grow this. Trevor hates it because it's kind of like prickly, and I usually put it in between my tomato plants.
Oh yeah, I've heard it does well with tomatoes.
And then it's this big like prickly bushy thing, and he doesn't like it. But the kids like it until they get up next to it, and then they realize that they don't like it because it's prickly.
See, I would like it because it's prickly. Like a friend of mine texted me and asked me what she should put as a hedge across her fence line, like to block out neighbors. And I'm like, bougainvillea, it has thorns. She's like, I need something kid friendly. I'm like, they'll only touch it once.
I always wanted to put a bunch of black locusts.
Or is it Osage Orange? That's the other one that has the big thorns.
I think it does.
Because people will use it as a living fence.
Yeah, I know.
Become a homesteader. Avoid people at all costs.
When we moved into our old house, not the one in town, but a different house, it was on an 1.5 acres, and it was a foreclosure. And these people had cacti growing everywhere in Indiana, all over, like a border around the whole house. Like they must not have liked people because. But people said that she ran a daycare out of her house, and I'm like, she's got cacti like blocking every entrance.
Maybe she wanted to grow something that didn't need to be watered. I don't know.
They had a bunch of yuccas.
Oh yeah,
I hate yuccas. They are like a pain in the neck to get rid of, and I don't like them.
I know.
You can eat the roots.
Giant one.
By the way.
Yeah, there's that.
But back to borage. Trevor doesn't like it because it's prickly, but I like it because the flowers taste like honey to me.
Oh yeah, I've heard they taste like cucumbers too. Is what people have told me. Yeah, I've got seeds for it. The only problem, it doesn't like our summers because they're so wet, and it tends to be prone to like fungal issues. And so I'm going to grow it this winter. I will grow it this winter because I have too many seeds to not grow it. And the bees love it.
Yeah, they do. Like I said, I usually put some like spaced in between my tomato plants. It's a good companion plant to keep pests away. Probably because it's prickly. I don't know if you can eat the leaves. They're kind of prickly. Like make a tea or something, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can eat stinging nettle leaves.
Yeah.
Or we can make it. Well, actually, no, you can eat them too. You can eat them or make a tea. We did not add stinging nettle to our list, did we? Oh well. Maybe.
No, or we purple dead nettle.
We might have to do a part 2 to this sometime.
I know people use the flowers to make like jelly, like borage jelly. And you can take the flowers and you can add them to salads. I think it tastes kind of like honey. You said that you heard it tastes like cucumber. I guess.
Yeah.
Like a honey.
So the leaves and flowers are both edible.
Okay, we'll see.
It uses a garnish, a dried herb, or a vegetable in any drink or dish. And I won't talk about the possible health benefits.
Okay, let's not. You guys can look this stuff up on your own because we're not gonna go down that.
Yeah, it's just there's too much liability involved. All right. Do you want to talk about violets? Okay, so question 1, does it grow wild where you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few out in the woods right now already, despite the fact that it's snowing with May apples.
Yeah, we have them wild too, but I have not tried harvesting them yet. And I've been told it's the leaves and the flowers.
A lot of people make violet jelly out of violets that I know. I personally never gotten enough of them to make jelly. unless I wanted to make like a teaspoon or a thimbleful.
Right. Yeah. How many flowers do you need to make the jelly?
Oh, I mean, quite a few. My friend made like an 8-ounce jar, and she had a bunch, and it made an 8-ounce jar.
Okay.
You
Here,
can.
I'm gonna look it up.
The leaves are edible.
Yeah, I just looked. I was gonna say
you can eat them raw in salads or saute like any other green. Steam, boil them, and then people make candied violets.
Oh, with the flowers.
Or wine. You can make violet wine.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
If you're into brewing your own alcohol, you probably should be.
All right, so 8 cups of violet blooms will make 5 half pints. So yeah, that's a lot of violet blooms. I mean, they're not that big. They're not a big flower.
No, they're real small. Yeah. Like I said, I probably have like a thimbleful.
That's 2.5 pints.
Right.
Right. So I went out and harvested them all. It's possible I could have enough to make jelly. But again, yeah, like if it's only 5 half pints, and I'm probably going to spend the entire day trying to pick 8 cups of blooms.
Right. She ended up with like one little jar and stuck it in her fridge. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it'd be worth it.
Yeah. I don't know. It might be something I'll try at some point, but
yeah, like if I went out and foraged for them, I could probably get quite a few, but I'm going to spend all day doing it. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it's at least convenient because it's on my own property. But
well, we just go right next door because the farmer right next to us is woods, and we have permission to do whatever we want over there. So, well,
how many acres is it?
Oh, probably 30.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a decent tract of woods. He owns the farmland on the opposite side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he refuses to subdivide it so that somebody could buy the woods. And he does nothing with the woods except complain because people trespass. So, and he doesn't live here. He lives in a different town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
don't know. All right, up next. I'm going to let you talk about the next one because I really don't know a whole lot about them.
Okay. Well, I only know about them in theory.
I can't grow them here at all. So
actually, the only reason I know that they're edible is because somebody in my group asked about them. So, grape hyacinth. The flowers are edible. And I do not know because, like I said, this is new to me. I actually didn't know this until like a month ago. Somebody asked what they were. They were popping up in their yard, and they're edible. Apparently, it's a big deal in Italy.
Oh, interesting.
But the flowers are edible, and they taste like bitter grapes.
Interesting.
I'm
going to try them next time I'm in Ohio in the early spring, which will never happen because I hate Ohio in the early spring.
Mascari, I think that's how you say it. And
okay.
If it's a big deal in Italy, apparently they do a lot with it. And it's only the grape hyacinths. It's not they're not all edible.
Right.
It's just those.
Just that variety.
Yes.
Interesting. I'm going to have to
So if you have
check that out sometime.
The real pretty purplish grape hyacinths, then you can,
which of course, like everyone who is growing grape hyacinths, like that's their only burst of color in the early spring. So they probably hate the idea of harvesting it and eating it.
They grow wild here. Like
do they?
Yeah, in the woods right next to our house. There's like a whole field. There used to be a house back there. And our other neighbor, I guess his great grandfather owned the house. So at some point the land actually belonged to somebody else. But anyway,
so did someone actually plant them at some point? And
I wonder if they did, but there's like a whole meadow, like clearing in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the spring. You can go back there. It's real pretty because they're everywhere.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what's like here in Florida, amaryllis grow wild. And I posted a photo of one that came up. And of course, everyone's like, oh no, that's someone had to have intentionally planted that at some point. And I'm like, no, you don't understand where it's coming up. No one ever planted anything there until I did. And I never planted amaryllis because I never imagined, typically most bulbs don't do real well here in Florida because of all of our issues in the soil and the moisture and everything. But apparently this is one thing that does well. And I've always seen the leaves pop up, but I assumed it was some type of palm. And so I would always pull them up and throw them out. And this one I just let go, and the area is finally in full sun because there used to be a tree there that we just cut down a couple years ago. And now that it's in full sun, it actually bloomed, and it turned out to be this beautiful giant amaryllis. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you get to stay. I guess I'll stop ripping those out of the ground when I find them now. But the only thing I can figure is, because it's not like a wild variety. So a bird or something must have picked up the seeds from somewhere, and the seeds ended up spreading to my property. But it's like, no, that is absolutely not a plant that has gotten any attention whatsoever, or else it wouldn't be there. Because I've never tried to propagate or water or fertilize or anything. If anything, I've tried my best to kill it. So
it likes neglect and torture.
Apparently. Well, and keep in mind, these are the same bulbs that they sell at Lowe's at Christmas time, that is in that vase where you can't, the bulb is up here and you will only want this much water in the vase, so that only this much of the bulb is touching the water. When you're trying to grow them, you have to baby them. And even then it's probably going to die. And this thing, it's like,
so it's not like ginger or my poor little aloe plant, or
it's a lot like my ginger, because my ginger gets ignored too.
Right, but I mean, ordinarily it's not.
It may be in other parts of the country, but not in Florida. Because I'll see them. I'll see them pop up in roadside ditches, and they're all over the place.
Oh wow!
In the rainy season, here they come up in the rainy season because that's when it's hot and humid, and apparently that's what they like.
Right.
That and a flower that we call rain lilies that I'm sure are something different, but I don't know. Anyway, that's totally unrelated to grape hyacinth, and I don't think they're edible, but it's a pretty random wild thing that grows in my yard. Next
is all you.
It's all me. So this is one that I have to laugh, because even Florida gardeners, when I mention growing it to eat, are like, but that's a sponge.
That's what I thought it was. So
is right, loofah. So unlike the rest of the world, we have a really hard time growing zucchini. And so our alternative is actually to grow loofah, especially in the summertime, because it loves the heat in the summer. Loofah is actually, it's considered a gourd, but it's related to cucumbers.
I need to start gourd seeds.
Yeah.
I forgot. I told the girls we make birdhouses. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I would grow them, except that, knowing my children, if I grew birdhouse gourds, I would end up with 100 birdhouses, and I would never be allowed to throw any of them away.
Yeah,
and my 11-year-old who was watching me through the window just perked up when I mentioned birdhouse gourds. Anyway, so loofahs, yes, they are grown as, if you grow them to full maturity, and you can dry them out, and you can use them as sponges. But you can harvest them green early in their season, when they're first starting to grow, and cook them just like a zucchini, and they taste just like zucchini. But of course, you're going to have to do it early in their growth cycle, because otherwise, the older they get, the more fibrous they get, and they're not going to be as good for eating. But yeah, that's a lot of people will grow it just as a zucchini alternative, and then they'll let a few, go to seed towards the end of the season. But I know for a lot of people in other parts of the country, if they're growing loofah, they're probably only growing it for the sponge, because it needs such a long growing season that if you're wanting to save any sponges, you don't want to harvest any extras, But if you don't want to grow it as a sponge, and you want something that is vining and will take up your entire garden, and maybe you're worried about squash borers ruining your zucchini harvest, then you can try loofah and just harvest them green, and you don't even have to worry about growing them all the way to maturity. Up next
is yarrow. I'll click on it. You said yarrow doesn't grow where you are? The flowers kind of taste like sweet, like a licorice almost.
Oh, interesting.
And you can use it in salad. People make ice cream, like to flavor ice cream or custards with it. If you cook it, it tastes kind of gross.
All right. It looks like it's mainly in North Florida.
Okay. But a lot of people know that it has medicinal uses, but a lot of people don't realize that like you can use it too.
It's actually really funny. The thing says it's suitable for growing in 8A and B and 10A. So apparently it just skips Central Florida. I'm sorry, 10B. So like the southern part of Florida and the Panhandle. And then it just skips Orlando, Tampa, Lakeland.
That's weird. So we have it that grows wild. And like I said, it kind of, like fresh, if it's not cooked, it tastes like licorice. And I know a lot of people use it, like I said, to flavor ice creams and custards. And if you cook it, though, I think it's kind of gross. It's got, I don't know, some people say it tastes kind of like earthy spinach, but I don't like it.
Interesting.
It's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got some like spinach alternatives that we can grow in the summer that I like them raw, but when you cook them, they get like slimy, almost like okra. And so a lot of people don't like them cooked.
Do you like okra?
I like fried okra and I like stewed okra, like if you cook it with some tomatoes.
Yeah.
But just regular okra by itself, it's okay. I mean, I like it. I'll eat it. Oh, and I'll put it in soup too.
I like it fried. Nobody else here does, so
yeah.
I don't grow it.
Yeah. But I mean, we grow, or we'll eat cactus too, and it's a pretty similar texture to okra. So I guess it's just an acquired taste. All right. I'll let you do the next one too.
Oh, okay. Daisy fleabane, or just fleabane. I guess it just depends on who you are. This grows wild on our property too. It
has the tiny little petals, right? Isn't that fleabane?
Yeah, it kind of looks like really tiny, really thin daisies. Kind of.
Okay.
They get really tall, the plants do, and they look kind of leggy.
Okay.
But it gets pretty tall. The leaves of the fleabane are edible. The flowers are not.
Okay.
And
we have Bittens Alba or Spanish needle is what grows here, and it's similar. The leaves are edible. And it looks like a small daisy.
Yeah.
But
are they hairy?
I don't think so.
See, fleabane, the leaves are kind of hairy.
Okay.
So, some people, it's not real palatable because even most people cook them. If you mix them with other greens, then you're not going to notice the weird texture. But, by themselves, like to cook them up like you would any other green, like you're probably going to notice the texture a little more. But the flowers are not edible. It's weird. And I know we have it on here. I don't think it's next, though. It's not. Aster, they're part of the aster family. And asters are edible.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, like the Bittens Alba, I haven't tried eating it. I mean, I end up getting overrun with it in the summer, but I will let it grow. If it's not in the way, I'll let it grow because the bees really like it. I can actually kind of talk to clover.
Okay, well, you can do clover.
Just because I grew up, like it's not super common down here. We do have white clover. The red clover doesn't grow real well down here. Again, I think it's prone to like fungal issues, which is why it doesn't do real well here. But I know we grew up, like we would pick the red clover heads, the flower heads, and just suck the nectar out of them. And they were really sweet. But I think, you can eat the whole flower head, right?
Yeah, the leaves and the flowers. Yeah.
Is it just the red clover or is it all clover?
I can only speak to the red clover. I'm not sure about white clover. Why does the red clover not grow there? I mean, I know you said the fungal issues, but they're so closely related. You would think that it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I never see it. And that's what I've always been told is that it's fungal issues. I have some seed like as a cover crop, but I've thought about trying it in the wintertime. Eat the leaves raw. Oh, so this is white clover. Eat the leaves raw or cooked as a spinach substitute, or dry them to add to baked goods for a vanilla flavor. The flowers are also edible, as are the seed pods, which when dried can be ground into a flour.
Yes. So it's the same thing basically as the red clover, because I would say the same thing about red clover.
Yeah. Okay.
We have red and white like in our yard.
Yeah, like I said, like it was really common in my parents' yard. Most of the clover species are not Florida native. It says crimson clover grows here, but it's not quite the same as red clover. So I don't know.
But you can use the greens and make them into like a spinach.
Yeah.
And you can eat them raw or cook them or make them into tea. And apparently, I think you can do that with all clover.
That would make sense.
I wouldn't just go grab clover like out of the park because a lot of times they spray chemicals and I don't really want to eat those. So, but you should wash it anyway. But I'm talking more along the lines of chemicals, you know.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Like avoid roadway or the side of roadways. That's why, like, you know, there's lots of edibles that I've seen growing in ditches here, but I won't pick them because they're on the side of a road. And so they're getting all of that chemical stuff, you know, from all the cars driving by. But yeah, anything that might be sprayed with chemicals and things too.
Are we ready for
next up?
asters?
Yes, next up. Yep.
Okay, do those grow there?
I don't think so. I mean, unless we plant them intentionally.
You can plant them intentionally.
It's not. I mean, it's not common. I guess I should say.
They're a really aggressive weed. They're pretty, but they're aggressive. It's like, you know, like my chamomile took over half my garden.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, yeah. I guess I didn't think about chamomile being an aster. I have grown chamomile here.
So the leaves, the flower, and the root are all edible. But the root
is also
actually,
considered an aster. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. I didn't think about that. The root is actually usually only used in like alternative medicine. We won't get into that, but it is edible. You won't talk about what it can do because things, but the flowers and the leaves, you can eat them raw, but add them to salads.
Okay.
And you can hang them upside down, like to dry them or dehydrate them, I guess. And when the entire plant is dry, you can use the dried leaves and flowers to add them to salad or make tea. That's what most people do with asters. They're real pretty. They're purple.
Yeah. So these are the different asters that.
Well, I'm talking about the New England aster. So I
was gonna say I don't know if all of I'm looking at these and I don't know that all of these are edible. Okay, so indigenous in the continental United States, except Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida.
Okay.
So
they,
I guess
they grow here. We get a lot of wild edibles. Like I don't grow them on purpose, but we get them up in the corner of our lot over where we have our elderberries.
Okay. Oh, actually, sort of a side note, I've got some really nice elderberry blooms on my plants right now.
I'm glad I don't, because
you got snow.
They would be dead. Thankfully, the trees have seemed quite intelligent this year, and the only thing I've even seen like with leaves on it yet are weeping willows.
Oh, okay.
That's it. I haven't seen any other leaves. I've seen like some buds start to sprout out when we were out in the woods the other day, but the May apples are up.
Okay.
Those all over the place.
And they're not covered in snow.
Now they're covered in snow.
And now it's raining, so it's all going to be covered in ice.
Oh yeah, I'm sure my goats are out there going, meh.
We're dying.
Yeah, it'll kill
We
them, I'm
wet
sure.
or we melt in the rain. All right.
This episode was brought to you by Kitchen Botanicals, your sustainable gardening headquarters. Stop by kitchenbotanicals.com and get a look at our 2022 seed varieties, as well as supplies and pest control products to help you with your organic garden. 2022 is a great time to take care of yourself with our Pampered Gardener subscription box. Every month, you'll receive all natural self-care products, untreated heirloom seeds, high-quality garden tools, organic garden amendments, cute and practical supplies, and fun products that we know you'll love. This is your opportunity to take care of yourself in the garden. I started the Pampered Gardener subscription box because I had gone through a time of not taking care of myself and dealing with the stress that it put onto my body. I was ill, I was tapped out, and I felt like I couldn't possibly pour any more out of my empty cup. So I created the Pampered Gardener subscription box for women like me who wanted to get back to what they enjoy, but also wanted to love themselves. So we've put together this collection of gardening and self-care products that are geared towards women who love to garden. You'll get things such as gloves, lotion, bags, hats, sunscreen, mosquito repellent, things that you can actually use, but also things that you'll enjoy. And don't worry, there will still be plenty of gardening tools, seeds. We've created a subscription box like no other by gardeners for gardeners. Order your own box today.
Yes.
Up next, Calendula.
Which will volunteer all over your garden forever and ever if you grow it one time.
It will self-seed. So one thing I will say, a lot of people will get calendula and marigolds mixed up because calendula is often referred to as pot marigolds.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't need it either, but and I know people will eat parts of the marigold, but I don't think you're actually supposed to. Anyway,
I
but
don't know.
calendula
They don't look alike.
I know. I don't know why. Calendula is truly edible. And so you can, and what you want to do is it's just the petals. So you actually want to pull the petals off the flower head and like you can put them on a salad or something like that. But then of course, the rest of the plant also has medicinal uses, although people would typically just use the flower heads. But again, you can do your research.
I will say that I make
medical uses.
I make oil and turn it into salve.
Mm-hmm.
Like I dry the flower heads. I don't use the whole plant. I just dry the flower heads and then put in oil and make an infused oil and then make calendula salve. I won't say what it does. I'll just say that that's what I do.
Yeah, I like calendula salve, but I need to actually grow it so that I can try the flower heads. Try eating it. My kids love learning about all the different things that are edible because then they go outside and snack on all of them.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as they know what they're eating.
Yeah. I will say they've actually been pretty good about making sure stuff is edible and then remembering what's edible and what's not. So,
right.
All right. I'll let you do the next one.
Well, everything's edible once.
This is true. People hate that when you say that in the mushroom groups. People get so mad.
But it's true. So snapdragons probably are not going to be your favorite plant, but you know, if you're hungry, the flowers are edible. They are very, very bitter. I read something a while back. It's like they're the opposite of nose, like the actual scientific name for snapdragons means opposite of nose or something like that. So
interesting. So
they smell.
They smell nice, but they taste bad.
Right, because so they're they can be bland or really, really bitter. But just so you know, the flowers of snapdragons, if you're super hungry, are edible.
My husband likes them, like he likes for me to grow them because he will like pinch them and make them talk, because this is my husband we're talking about, and he's a 5-year-old child.
I can see Trevor doing something like that.
But I did not realize they were edible, so that's really interesting.
No, I grow them, but they're not I just think they're pretty, really. I've grown the
Yeah.
apple blossom looking ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of myself because I can grow them from seed.
I'm
a terrible gardener.
I don't know if I've tried them from seed, because I've always like just bought them already, like bought the seedlings. So I'm gonna have to get some seeds and try to grow them from seed.
I got these from like Johnny's. They're hybrid, but they look like apple blossoms.
Interesting.
Some people say they're kind of hard to grow. They take forever to grow, but growing. Okay.
All right, I'll let you do the next one because it does not grow here.
Does anything grow there?
Ginger.
Ginger. It grows here too. I've got some in my windowsill.
Yes, but mine grows year round outside in the ground.
Well, aren't you special? Okay, henbit.
And I can grow oranges. Anyway.
So it's a member of the mint family, but unlike mint, it tastes more like grass.
Maybe we should do another episode on edibles that taste good.
You can eat the flowers, the leaves, and the stems of henbit. A lot of people will add them like to fresh salads. And of course, you can cook them like any other green, saute them, add some butter, and some salt, and you won't notice that they taste like grass. This is why I'm not a vegetarian. But that's a story for another day.
Which flower tastes like steak? I need that one.
The one that the cow ate. Because then they're vegetarians, so I don't have to be. Okay.
On a side note, I was at the big box store of doom over the weekend because I was desperate. They had Beyond Meat jerky.
Don't get me started. We could have a whole episode.
All right, keep going.
Okay.
Are we ready for the corn dogs on sticks?
I'm not done with henbit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is good boiled, or if you like cook it with a little, like boil it and then put a little bit of melted butter and some cinnamon on it, then it's good. Like it doesn't taste like grass, or maybe it tastes like grass with cinnamon.
Tastes like cinnamon toast.
Whoa, this is your idea.
Cinnamon grass.
Oh.
I mean, I grew up like eating mock strawberries because I had nothing better to do. So,
ew, that's gross.
I know.
At least
which is part of the reason why I get really annoyed when people try to say that mock strawberries are real strawberries. I'm like, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
Wild strawberries taste so much better.
Okay, so
now the corn dogs on sticks.
Yes, the corn dogs on sticks. Cattails. I have like a whole post about cattails and how to eat them and how to use them because I think they're cool. They are what I would call like the ultimate survival plant because you can use them for lots of different things.
We'll link that in the show notes.
And we'll link my other post because a lot of these are on there. I've got like 24 edible weeds that you can find in the garden.
I know. I'm going to have to make something for Florida specific.
So, just to quote my post, cattails produce more starch per acre than potatoes. And they could have helped us win World War II, but it actually ended before we were able to feed the troops cattails, believe it or not.
Oh, interesting.
You can eat the pollen, which makes me cringe. Like I said, I'm pretty sure my nose would probably explode. But it is really easy to harvest. It's a short season, but the male flower has copious amounts of it in the early spring. And of course, it blows away, but you gather it and you can, like the whole flower, you can gather the flower and then take it and put it in a container and shake it and all the pollen will come off in your container and then you can sneeze. It will actually keep for quite a while. And people use it to make baked goods, like in place of flour. So you can make like pollen biscuits or pollen pancakes. You can use half of the flower, like switch half the flower for the pollen and still get the same rise and all of those things.
Okay.
You can eat the green female flowers. You cannot eat the brown. They're not hot dogs. You can't eat those. They can be harvested in the spring when they're still green, and you can eat them like you would corn on the cob. You can like grill it and put butter on it and a little bit of salt and eat it like wild corn on the cob. You can eat the shoots and the stalks. They kind of taste like asparagus. So if you don't like asparagus, you probably shouldn't eat them. And people say that they taste kind of like cucumbers raw. I've never had them raw, so I do not know. And then you can also harvest the roots year round. They're best in the fall and winter. And you can make flour with the roots. You can eat the roots. They have a fibrous section that surrounds them that has to be removed. Some people say that they give you a stomach ache, so eat them, not in excess.
Sparingly?
Yes. And then that post has ways to make spaghetti with pollen, fermented cattail shoots and cream sauce, and cattail flour bread. And then you can also use like the cotton stuff for insulation as a fire starter. And you can use the leaves, you can dry them and make baskets. That's actually how the Native Americans used to make baskets. And then there's tons of medicinal uses that we won't talk about. So that's my little thing on cattails. And the next one's mine too, isn't it?
That's another one that I know they grew in Ohio. I don't know that I've seen them down here.
Cattails?
Yeah.
Really?
All right. Now
I would think they would be pretty prevalent. At least, like, I would think they would be, but maybe I'm wrong. You guys have a lot of like swampy areas, and that's what they like.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. I guess I just don't see them in my area, but I know we have so many lakes and things.
I thought that, I thought they would grow there because we have a lot of them here.
There's so many plants that like they need a cold period, and we just don't have a cold period for them. But cattails are not one of those, apparently. All right, next.
Fiddleheads probably are one of those things.
Probably.
So fiddleheads are the immature part of a fern, usually the ostrich fern. And they are edible when they're all curled up and real tight. And once they start to get fuzzy or start to unfurl even a little bit, they're not really edible.
Probably get too fibrous.
Yeah. So it's only like a 4 to 6 week long period. And like I said, once they start to unfurl even a little bit or start to get some of that fuzz on them, they're not edible. And if they are edible, they're probably not very palatable.
Right.
People like to pickle them, and you can like cook them in butter. People make soups and stuff with them. So that's my little thing on fiddleheads. I have one on fiddleheads too.
Do they taste good?
I don't think they're bad.
I haven't tried them.
It just tastes like a green kind of.
Okay.
I've only had them twice, and they were cooked both times, like in butter. So I've never had pickled fiddleheads, but I've heard that they're good. So I'd imagine that they're good. If you like pickles. Yeah,
I like pickles. All right. Next up is mine.
Yeah.
I get to talk again. Yay. All right. This one I just learned about within the last couple of years. And so sword ferns are very common here. And
I don't think they grow here.
I don't know how to describe them. I mean, they're just they're a more narrow leaf. I mean, they're not like straight, like you would think sword, but they are a smaller, more narrow leaf. They tend to like kind of grow in clumps. Like we have a whole area that's all these ferns that we call our snake patch because that's where all the snakes hide.
Imagine that.
I know. Obviously they like wet ground, but it is the roots. They produce a tuber on their roots that tastes like water chestnuts.
Oh.
So you want to kind of like dig them up with a shovel. Like if you just pull them out of the ground, it's more than likely that most of the root system is going to stay in the ground. But if you kind of get a shovel underneath them and kind of knock them loose and pull them up that way, then you can usually get some of those tubers on there. This is one that like Danielle had never heard of, but it's one that I get asked about a lot because I have so much of it growing. So there are a lot of different kinds of ginger, not just the culinary ginger that you get from the grocery store. A couple ones that are very common here in Florida, obviously the culinary ginger, also shampoo ginger, and then the spiral ginger. And the spiral ginger is often grown as ornamental. It's called spiral ginger because the leaf stalks kind of like turn like a spiral as they grow up out of the ground. And then they produce this little flower head that when the flowers are mature, they will pop just like one petal out. You can pull that petal out like once it pops out of the like flower head and just eat it, and it tastes like a Jolly Rancher. So that's usually like what we'll be snacking on out in the garden is the flower petals off the spiral ginger. But people will come to visit and like we'll ask them, we'll offer them a flower petal, and they'll look at us like we're nuts because they've seen spiral ginger growing and they never imagined that it was edible. And we offer them a flower, and they're like, oh, it tastes good. Although the downside is because it has so much nectar in it, the ants also really like it. So you have to make sure there's no ants inside of the flower petal before you eat it, or you get, a little extra protein. So
it's a Peruvian ginger, right? Is the culinary ginger?
Maybe
it's Peruvian. I think I've got some growing in my windowsill, and I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like that's probably it. It would help if I could actually see a picture of the plant and not just the root. Yeah, because like that's what the plant looks like. The other gingers, their roots just don't have the flavor that the Peruvian ginger has. A lot of people also don't realize that turmeric is actually a ginger.
Oh, I didn't know that it was a ginger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know they grow similar to one another, but I wasn't aware that they were in the ginger family. Very interesting.
So I can grow both.
The next one's yours too.
The next one's mine too. All right. So
beautyberry.
American beautyberry. Does it grow up there at all? Or is it just a southern thing?
I think it does. I'll look. I'll look.
Yeah. So it has a couple uses. It's also commonly known as a natural insect repellent. So some people will make a salve, like they'll take the plant and chop it up and infuse it and make a salve with it. And then you can use that as an insect repellent. Berries are edible, although I will say raw, they don't taste very good. To me, they taste like an astringent. But
so
you can make
the native beautyberry
jelly.
Grows in southern Indiana.
Okay.
And then the hybrid grows up here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there's a hybrid. They're not at all frost tolerant. But
so a native beautyberry, which is the American beautyberry.
Right.
It grows to zone 6, it says, which is southern Indiana. And then the Asian beautyberry hybrid is hardy to zone 5.
Okay.
So there you go.
There you go. No, but a lot of people will make a jam or actually a jelly with the berries. And so you end up, and again, it takes like 8 cups of berries, but you're going to boil them in water and then drain that water off. And that water is what you're actually going to use to make the jelly. And
like any other jelly.
Right. And it ends up, well, but it's like, yeah, because I guess you do kind of smash it a little bit, but yeah. It ends up being mostly sugar, to be quite honest.
I know. That's what I don't like about a lot of the jellies, because like violet jelly and, like people make like dandelion jelly, it's mostly just sugar or honey. It's not really.
Well, that's why I like jam, because you're still getting that fruit fiber. But like with the beauty berries, there's certain things like, if it's got a lot of seed or it's got a big seed in the middle, that doesn't really work real well if you're making a jam. And
like flowers, you can't make
right. Yeah. It wouldn't make sense to have the flower in there.
No,
and a lot of especially with the beautyberry good grief, I'm getting the words mixed up. The beautyberry jelly and the violet jelly, you're almost doing it more so for the color. I mean, you're getting a little bit of flavor, but
right.
You know, you're doing
like lilac jelly. It's kind of, yeah, you don't really get much lilac flavor. It's more just, it's a pretty color.
Right. Exactly.
And it's,
I mean, you know, and it's a fun thing to do. I mean,
well, yeah,
it's neat to be able to say that I made beautyberry jelly.
Yeah. Well, I just wish that jelly wasn't so sugary.
Yeah.
And like those kinds of jellies, you kind of have to add, I mean, you could use honey or maple syrup, I guess, but you still have to add like copious amounts of sugar or it's just like water.
There's nothing to it. Yeah.
And
like pectin can only do so much.
Right.
Add some gelatin, make Jello. You're good.
Yeah, there you go.
Although I will say my kids will go out and eat the beauty berries like raw right off the plant. I don't know what the appeal is. They say it tastes good. I think they taste awful.
No.
So anyway,
are we ready for the next one?
Yep, you're up for the next one.
Yeah, because you said this doesn't grow there.
I don't think so.
So apparently nothing grows except weird things like spiral ginger and sword ferns in Florida. But for most of us, chicory
we do
grows.
Some stuff.
We get a lot of it here in our yard. I love when the chicory starts to pop up because I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
You can eat everything of the chicory plant, the flower to root. You can harvest it in the spring and the fall. The summer heat, if you harvest it in the summer, makes it kind of bitter. So it's a little less palatable and it's still edible, but it's just not as good. It likes to grow on roadsides. And like we already mentioned, it's probably not the best place to pick it. You can put the raw flowers and leaves in a salad, or you could saute them like you can any other green. Most of these plants, you can saute the greens. And then chicory root is really, really popular to make into a coffee substitute for Bonnie.
See, and I don't like chicory coffee, so go figure.
Go figure.
All right, now what's interesting is I look up chicory in Florida, and it just gives me endive, which I can grow in the winter. But again, it's not a wild edible like I'm intentionally planting it from seed.
Right. I don't think anybody like intentionally plants chicory. I think it's just a wild plant that grows.
Yeah, like I said, it's not something that's wild. I mean, again, just about anything can be grown here from seed if you intentionally plant it.
Right.
It's just a lot of it has to be grown in the winter.
But the roots are typically made to make a coffee substitute, which apparently Bonnie only drinks coffee. So we can't have a podcast without talking about coffee and Bonnie.
That's why you love me. Mullein. That grows other places, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We have that.
Oh, okay. Totally off topic. We're not talking about mullein, but Okay.
Yeah, but it's either edible or medicinal. I can't remember. Anyway.
Mullein is medicinal.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's like a respiratory thing.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's in one of my supplements. But it's one of those things that I only ever see it growing on the side of the road. So I don't dare harvest it because all of the crap.
Right.
All right. So Smilax. I'm gonna go with that pronunciation because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Similac.
Is actually like kind of a spiky vine, and it grows all like everywhere, especially in the summertime. But we can harvest the very tip of the vine, and it tastes like asparagus. So really, if you go out and harvest enough of it, you could actually like saute it just like you do asparagus and have it as a green or whatever. But normally we just snack on it in the yard. But yeah, it's a wild vine, and you'll see the very end of the vine will just be very tender, and it kind of curls, and there'll be like a couple tendrils and then the new leaves, and you can just pop that off. If it doesn't pick off easily, then that means it's the older part of the vine that's gotten too like woody, because the older parts of the vine are the part where you're going to have they're not exactly thorns, they're almost like sharp hairs, but obviously, if it's poking you or it feels like, a blackberry vine, then that's not the part you want to eat. Which we do have. Our wild blackberries are in season right now too.
Oh,
pretty
well, I
exciting.
need to push up my blackberry jam thing and try to get people to go to it. Because nothing's growing
my
here.
mulberries are starting to ripen. It's funny because my kids are like, "Oh, it's a blackberry tree." Not exactly.
Oh, we have a mulberry tree. And so we're looking at the trees. Nothing has leaves right now. We're looking at the trees the other day because where we're putting the goat pen, like their little pasture area. I'm like, there's a mulberry tree right there. And Trevor's like, no, I think it's over there. No, it's that one. I remember because I mow over the stupid mulberries that fall all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Every summer.
Mine, I had it in a fabric grow bag, and apparently it grew through the fabric grow bag. So it might be permanently in front of one of my raised beds now because I don't know if I can move it. But it's really happy. So I kind of like, I guess you're just going to live there now.
There you go.
All
right. Are we ready for the last one?
And I think, yeah, this is the last one. Holy crap. Okay.
All right. Dahlias are edible. You can eat the flowers and the bulbs. Well, not the flowers, the petals, I should say. The petals of dahlias and the bulbs. And their flavors are different. Like some of them are really, really bland. And some of them taste kind of like a spicy apple. And some of them taste more like celery. And some of them even taste like carrot. So you never know what you're going to get. But a lot of people don't know that they are edible. So I thought that I would add that into the end here because why not? And they are kind of crunchy like a water chestnut, the tubers. But you can't eat them.
Interesting. So apparently we can grow them here.
What, dahlias?
Yeah. Well, and it's really weird.
I would think you can because we can't plant the tubers until spring.
Well, so it looks like the problem is the wet summers. So they like the heat. They don't like all the moisture.
Right. I was going to say because it's not like daffodils and tulips where they have to overwinter. Like we can't put them in the ground in the fall like we do daffodils and tulips.
Right. Yeah. So because they're native to Mexico and Central America. Pests and diseases are the norm rather than the exception. So be sure to monitor the plants and treat problems as needed. So they take a little extra effort, but their beauty can make it all worthwhile. So that's why I don't grow them, because if they don't thrive on neglect, I might as well not even bother.
So the tubers are kind of like, any other tuber where you're going to, pair it up and dice it and use it in place of, and like I said, but the flavor of them is, and I don't know if it's like specific varieties taste certain ways or if it's just a matter of,
figuring out which ones you like.
Right. But I don't know if it's like a varietal thing or if it's just like an environmental thing or, what I mean, like where they're grown. I have no idea what makes some of them taste.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to experiment with.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have some tubers, but I saved them from last year. I don't think I was supposed to.
Yeah, well.
I'm not selling them. I'm just going to put them back out in the garden.
Yeah. Well, and I would think that unless you had issues last season, that replanting them wouldn't be an issue this season. I think it's more so that if you had disease problems, then the disease carries over to the next season.
Right.
Or if you're bringing it from someone else's garden to yours, and you might be introducing issues. But if it's coming out of your soil, then you already have your issues.
Yeah, they are what they are. I like to grow them just for pollinators because, and they're pretty.
I wouldn't mind having some more like big showy flowers. Right now, like I have a pollinator garden in front of my front window. But the problem is I planted this one little yellow flower that I did not realize at the time was invasive. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's a creeping vine, but it puts up these yellow flowers, and I got it because the bees love it, but it chokes out everything else.
Oh,
so
it's not like black-eyed Susans, is it?
No, no, they're
those kind of like take over.
The flowers are all yellow.
Oh, okay.
So I need to. They're kind of like they die back in the winter, So I need to go out there with the rake and kind of clean up that bed a little bit anyway before they, get established again. Because I'm also trying to grow, I know. I've got like milkweed in there that I want it to be able to do well. At one point I had a fire bush for the hummingbirds, but I'm worried it may have gotten choked out. So I may need to replant that. So. But yeah, so it would be nice to have, like, since that's more of a ground cover, it'd be more nice to have some taller flowers.
Is it phlox?
No, it's not phlox.
Oh, okay. Well, because that like chokes everything out, and it's kind of
but those are tiny little flowers. These are bigger.
Yeah, they are.
I'll take a picture of it and do like Google Images and figure out what it is.
I love that you planted something and you have no idea what it was.
I'm a professional. Actually, what's really bad, this is another one of those that I technically didn't plant it. I just put the pot in the flower bed and it grew over the sides of the pot and then rooted itself. So it planted itself.
Sounds like mint. I mean,
now mint, I couldn't get that lucky with mint. Mint doesn't like Florida. It'll survive, but you have to baby it. But Mexican petunias that's what happened with my garden with Mexican petunias. My husband brought one home and just set the pot in the garden, and the roots came out from the bottom of the pot, and it sends out runners from the roots and spreads by the root. So now it's everywhere. And now it apparently some bird has picked up the seeds from it, and I've now got it coming up on the other side of my property. So I'm having to pull it up every time I see it. Yeah.
That's what happened to my chamomile. It's like I have some way over on the other side. I've got some like that was grown in the middle of my garden just randomly. It's in a bed.
I would not complain about extra chamomile because I can use it.
Well, no, I'm good. I'll grow it. And I did get rid of the stuff in the middle of the garden though. Yeah.
Actually, that's one thing I kind of miss about Ohio is that because mint was so prevalent, that I could have mint tea pretty much whenever I wanted.
We grow chocolate mint, but I grow it in pots because it goes everywhere.
Yeah. I tried it one time and armadillos dug it up.
Armadillos. That's just so random to me.
They are a very random animal, let me tell you. So anyway. All right. Well, I think that does it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our breakdown of, I don't know. It was 21, right?
Yeah.
Our breakdown of edible plants. These are some things that, are just fun things that either you might have growing wild or you might want to add to your garden. And, just a little extra source of food. So.
Right. And a lot of them are pretty. So you have, and they're good for pollinators. So you're, and good companion plants. So you're adding lots of different benefits, and you can still eat them instead of, just growing it for looks. Right.
Yeah. Especially if you're trying to have a attractive edible garden, but you still, you want to have flowers, you want to have something that looks nice, but you don't want to be taking up a lot of space for something that isn't going to be useful to you. So.
Right. Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Grounded in Simplicity podcast. If we were able to help you in any way, please share this episode with a friend and also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also join us over on Patreon at Grounded in Simplicity and help to support this podcast, as well as become a patron and get a behind the scenes look at the creation of our podcast and even have some input on future episodes.